an abbreviated round, round 18. I'll tell you what, we're getting close, aren't we? Round 19, we've got 7 games, and then round 20, bang, 8 games, 8 weeks, and we make our way to the finals. It's going to be a fascinating run home. But to the weekend just gone, Bulldogs 18, Broncos 22. It was all going to script, and then at the 60-minute mark, Ezra Mam and the Broncos, in the words of Benji Marshall, they flipped the script. Stunning comeback, season-defining win for the Broncos, and they maintain 5th position with a bye in hand to the Warriors and the Bulldogs. So, speaking of the Bulldogs, calm down, everyone. Calm down about. They're now 3rd on the ladder, and you need to be very careful about where you get your information, and you need to be discerning enough to separate information from opinion when it comes to the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, all right? So if you want to think about it again, okay, Lachlan Galvin this, and Lachlan Galvin's fault for that, and look what Gus Gould can't do. It's seriously, are they a stronger side with Lachlan Galvin in the team? Yes, they are. Where do they play him this week? Not sure. Do they all back up from State of Origin 3? Well, we know that Carraz will definitely play on Saturday because he won't be required as 18th man for New South Wales. Less than 5%. Little word filtering through this morning too, the suggestion that might be changed next year. Have a look at the 18th man about some of the solutions that might be there. But anyway, what do they do? Not sure. I'd play him at halfback. Harsh? Yep. Are you closer to winning the comp? Probably. Do you win it? Not necessarily. It's a very tough competition. But going forward, and everyone's saying, Isaiah Katoa is a much better player than Lachlan Galvin. He's been playing in the NRL for 3 years. And remember, at this time last year, Wayne Bennett dropped him. So that's what we need. And the other little birdie that told me things over the course of the weekend is that Isaiah Katoa has stunned everybody in the New South Wales camp. How he's come in and just taken to it like the proverbial duck to water. So one to look out for there. Raiders 28, Dragons 24. Another really solid win for the Raiders. So they're top of the comp, 2 buys in hand. Short price to be the minor premiers, $1.70 in fact at betar.com.au. Gamble responsibly. But again, they relax and let the opposition back into the game. And yes, there was a couple of trick shots from the Dragons, but it was the Dragons that were able to get themselves back into the game. Said it on Sunday, say it again today. I don't think it was a forward pass either. Does that guarantee the win? No. But it was a bad decision. Bad decision coming there. Not from Jared Sutton, from the sideline official. Can we be clear about that? You just go onto the social media and you go, Jared Sutton, we can't win with Jared Sutton as the referee. It was the sideline official. He can't do anything. He's forced to go back and accept the sideline official's decision. But KO Weeks, wow. 3 tries, 346 metres, 19 runs, 2 line breaks, 4 line break assists, 1 try assist, 9 tackle breaks. Just incredible. How did Kyle play? It's almost like the Monday, how did Kyle play? He played okay. He played well. His effort is there. He's a professional. He's probably a 14, not a halfback. But anyway, I've only been saying that for 18 months. Cowboys 20, Storm 26. Only highlights of this one, but a spare parts team got it done against another spare parts team, plus Scotty Drinkwater and Jackson Purdue. They sort of stood out there for the Cowboys. But important win for the Storm, second on the ladder, and we're still awaiting that dominant performance. I'm going to ask Lewis Shepherd around, the complete performance and the team that most likely, it's a very open competition. We talk about that a lot on this program. Eli Katoa, another try, this time jumping high above the fullback on the other side of the field. So now he's gone from the right to Chase on the left. So not much he can't do at the moment, Eli Katoa. Roosters 28, Tigers 30. Seriously, how did the Roosters lose this game? I'm joking. Tigers fans, calm down. Come on. Determined, committed, confident. These are the traits that we anticipated from the Roosters. We got them from the Tigers. So well done to the Tigers on that. Latu Fainu, he works at 7. We've talked about that. He works at 7. Luai sitting in the crowd, watching sometimes on his phone. But Luai 6, Fainu or Latu Fainu at 7, it certainly looks like that's going to work. And they've got to sort that contract out, don't they, with Jerome Luai? Like, you want to be planning with certainty. At present, they're not planning with certainty. So that's something they need to work out. Costly loss for the Roosters. They've got a tough run home. They're the ones you're going to bank. So, we'll win that one. So that is a costly loss for the Roosters for the top 6, top 8. Remember, top 6 home game. So that's what we want to see at Allianz Stadium. Here's Benji Marshall talking. He was quite animated. Apparently on the sideline, very animated. I was in transit for this one. I was just listening via the SEN app. But here's Benji Marshall talking about the Tigers, the players who were there, and what the week has looked like post-match.
Yeah, well, that's a bit of a flip script from what was happening during the week about letting juniors go. So that's, you win one game and it's all of a sudden that changes. I get it. There's agendas or whatever's happening, but there's a lot of shit that happened during the week that was just not true and unfair and starts because we're losing, and then it gets reported, then every podcast jumps on it and every news article jumps on something that's not true. Like the thing with me and Adam was crazy, and we have to defend that. It just puts pressure on the club that we don't need from something that's not true, So again, letting juniors go, we didn't let any juniors go. They didn't want to be here. Like, that's where it's at, and we want guys who want to be here.
Yeah, so do you have to defend it? That's the question I'd be asking too. And I don't know what happened in that situation. I know that Benji Marshall and Adam Dewey are professional, right? Those things happen. This is high pressure environment, high performance environments. Those things happen at rugby league training, at every piece of training. I bet you it happens in the football world. Can you imagine in the NFL how competitive internally that is? Those things happen. Oh, it was the coach that doing it. You don't think you've never seen a player blow up with a coach? If it was a blow up? Anyway. And then we went over to Brookvale and we called the Seagulls 30, the Rabbitohs 12. This was a very straightforward win for the Seagulls, as it should be. Right, with all their stars there at home, depleted South Side, and it was classic team performance. So, all right, who was the best player for the Seagulls? DCE was good. Tofafoa Sipley was good. Tolatau Kola, Turbo. Talked earlier with Matty White about I'd love to know what the data looks like for Turbo. How much ground is he covering at what percentage of max speed? All of that sort of stuff. They'll have that. And there are excuses for South Sydney. There is absolutely no doubt about that. I thought Brandon Smith, when he came on for his second stint, he changed the game. He was excellent. And he played that. Well, I don't know what role he was playing. It was running forward /5'8", because he was a handful for the Manly defence. Now he's gone for 6 to 8 weeks. This is on the back of the Matt Lodge tackle. Here's Coach Bennett talking about Brandon Smith's injury after the match.
He's done a medial ligament. He'll be 6 to 8 weeks from that tackle. Well, that's up to them to make a decision on it now, but we're not playing with a lot of luck, and we didn't get any there in that decision either.
You thought there was hip drop, did you think?
Well, you make your own opinion on it. But
You seem frustrated.
well, I'm frustrated by a lot of things right now, but it's not doing me any good.
Lots of injuries, lots of excuses, although they're not being used by the South Sydney Rabbitohs. And there are those people who go, oh, he's under pressure, Wayne. Really? This is not pressure. This is not pressure for Wayne. There's so many it's certainly not optimal for the South Sydney Rabbitohs, and it was certainly they've dropped from 7th on the ladder to 16th on the ladder. But there are things that are sometimes beyond your control. So next week, Rabbitohs, Raiders, Seagulls bye, and then we're into it on the way home. The other one that we've got to have a look in the rearview mirror for, well done Australia. They've retained the Sir Frank Worrell Trophy. Australia win by 133 runs after the West Indies were all out for 143. We have an all-time bowling attack, as I mentioned. We have an all-time bowling attack that gets us out of a few problems, and then we've got to work out what we do with those problem areas. Usman Khawaja and Sam Consis most notably. The middle order has looked after Australia in the first 2 test matches. So well done Cameron Green, 50 batting at number 3. So that's going to ease a little bit of pressure there. Nathan Lyon is now 1 wicket away from the legendary GD McGrath in the all-time wicket takers for Australia. He'll be second on the list behind SK Warne. It's extraordinary that the off-spinner from young New South Wales is in such esteemed company. In fact, I was looking at those wicket takers for Australia. So Warren McGrath and then Lyon, one behind McGrath, and then a fair drop down to Mitch Stark. So he's fourth on the list. DK Lilly, Mitch Johnson, Brett Lee, then Pat Cummins and Josh Hazelwood. That rounds out your top 9. And I'm looking at Hazelwood. So Cummins will get Lee, no problem. Johnson, no problem. Lilly, probably. He'll be putting pressure on Stark, I would say. He's on 307, Stark 395, but Lilly 355. So Cummins will go into the top 5 all time. And Hazelwood 292, he may not get to 355, but it's an all-time Australian bowling attack that has done the job for them so many times. Alex Carrier, the player of the match, and that's because wickets are shared between this great bowling attack. But well done to Australia, and enjoy the third test match, the day-nighter in Jamaica. Or could possibly, if you're on a tour group, just be careful over there in Kingston, Jamaica. 1300 01 1170, the text line 0457 736 736. Of course, we're looking forward to State of Origin number 3, and our thoughts go out to the Munster family. Shocking news that we had early on Sunday that Cameron's father, Stephen, has passed away. He's left the Queensland camp. He will come back and play on Wednesday. Here is what former teammate at Queensland level and at Storm level, Cam Smith, had to say today on the Today Show.
Yeah, he's the leader. He's the skipper of the state team. He's an inspiration to all of those players that he plays alongside. So it'll be devastating for those guys in camp at the moment. But the one thing that I've learned, I lost my mother only 12 months ago. The world keeps moving, unfortunately. As much as you want it to all stop and feel the same way you're feeling, it keeps moving. So these players, as sad as it would be for them in camp at the moment, they've now got to try and refocus at the job at hand. They are all professionals, and I'm sure they're going to go out there and do all Queenslanders proud this Wednesday.
So incredibly difficult there, and that audio courtesy of Channel 9, incredibly difficult for, yes, the Queensland side, but in particular for Cameron Munster and his family. So regardless of how he plays or how Queensland play or how the result plays out on Wednesday, it is an incredibly challenging time. And as I say, we pass on our condolences to the entire Munster family. Wayne, Ricky and Mal seem to be protected species with the media. Okay, so let's go through that. Mal's got an incredible winning record with Queensland and Australia, right? All changes with the Perth Bears. So let's wait and see how that plays out. Wayne Bennett, we already talked about it. So Wayne hadn't won a comp since 2010, but he's still got a win percentage of about 60% across those next 15 years, including 2 years with an expansion franchise. And then Ricky, and I've pointed it out here that the results Ricky was getting up to the sacking of Brad Arthur, they were very similar. One got sacked, the other one got a 4-year extension. But they're leading the comp. They've got 2 buys up their hand. They're a side that very few, if any, had not winning the premiership in the top 8. So, you can't be critical of what Ricky Stuart and the Raiders are doing this year. In fact, far from it. We've got to go because she's got to go. She's very busy at the moment. We understand. Jelisa Apps from Channel 7. She's on the line. G'day, J.A.
Hey, Jimmy. How are you?
I'm really well. I'm excited about Wednesday night, quite obviously. A decider, a sold out.
I'm so excited.
Yes. All right. Okay. We'll put the pom-poms down and just tell us what's the latest. Stefano Toikamanu had some sort of calf issue. Is that right?
Yeah, he did. I saw actually earlier in the week he peeled off just as we were leaving training. He peeled off with Nathan Cleary, who was sort of doing his own thing. And then on Saturday, he peeled off again we were being escorted from training, so we weren't able to watch. But I touched base with the Blues straight after that, and they said they were just testing his calf, and he actually did participate in the full session of full contact of the opposed session. So I think it's just like they've all got niggles at this point. I don't know that one is too much to worry about.
Do you get a sense of where they're at, most importantly psychologically going into this game 3?
Definitely you can feel a bit more like maybe they're less not like they're not as relaxed as they were the first two games, but in saying that, they don't seem fearful at all. Like they seem very confident. It's just all very serious. The real thing that we'll be looking for today is Brian To'o and Payne Haas, because they haven't done anything. And that's, if you're not, I mean, Payne Haas, he did only do like 15 minutes of a session before that first game. Brian To'o is the one I think is a little bit more concerning, but I mean, you've got a pretty good replacement in there and Jacob Carraz. But what gets really underrated with Brian To'o is his defence. That's what you really lose.
So based on that, you've mentioned To'o, you've mentioned Payne Haas, Nathan Cleary, all set to go.
Yes, except he won't be doing the kicking duties.
Right.
So obviously, so Zach Lomax, I imagine that's to keep him fresh for the kicking on the field and not put any strain on him for, in terms of goal kicking, because he is going to keep probably carrying that all season. But yeah, they're just, everyone's carrying little niggles everywhere at the moment. Like even Jerome Luai, obviously 3 days in hospital on antibiotics, 3 days before he came into camp. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Like most people would take the rest of the week off work, let alone start running out on a field. So everyone's just carrying something at the moment, but I think they're in very good hands in the very experienced staff of not only the physios and everything, but people like Frank Panisi, who have seen it all and know when a player is not right to go.
Round 18, done and dusted, done another win for your Raiders. They're now sitting atop of the comp. What was your takeouts for the footy on the weekend?
Yeah, really. I mean, I'm unfortunately not watching every game at the moment just because I'm caught up in Origin camp. But I tell you what, I'm watching every game of the Raiders. They got a little hairy towards the end there.
Oh, yeah.
But Kyle Weeks, oh, wow. Like he is just, it's kind of like watching Josh Adokar in his prime. He looks like the most amazing part about him is he sort of runs the whole length of the field and then looks like he doesn't even need a drink.
Yeah.
It's just, all right, let's do that again. So, yeah, thrilled for the Raiders.
Yeah, well done on that. Although Tyrell Sloan burnt him pretty convincingly too on the weekend. So,
don't worry about that.
Okay, all right, won't worry about that. Now, you wanted to make mention of Ricky Stuart's comments in the press conference in regards to Kyle Flanagan.
Yeah, I didn't like this at all. And I don't know why it's not really being spoken about as much, because I really felt for that journalist that was sitting there and didn't even ask the question about the booing to Ricky and then just seemed to get a bit of a verbal assault. And look, I'm not defending the question. The question, like, it wasn't a great question to Senior Flano, about the booing. I mean, of course, they're going to boo a goal kicker, an away goal kicker. That's always going to happen. And he kind of just gave it the response that it deserved, which was nothing. And that would have gone away. And then for Ricky to come in and then make this sort of big thing of it, he then turned it into a story, which then puts Kyle back in the headlines, which I thought just wasn't smart. But I just felt like the attack on that journalist, I don't know that journalist. She's, I believe, a Canberra-based journalist. I've never met her. But I just felt really sorry for her being put in that position and almost copying it for what she hasn't written. And I was glad that she said, when he said, what you, the media, are all writing or all saying, and she said, well, I'm not. I was glad she said that, because I felt like it was low-hanging fruit. And if you've got a problem with what's being written about Kyle or what's being said on talk shows or something like that, why aren't you directing it at those people? Why are you taking the low-hanging fruit of the young woman who was sitting there and didn't even ask you a question about it? And I just found it, I actually haven't seen any journalists write bad things about Kyle. I don't know if I'm not consuming the right media, but I actually haven't. I've seen a lot on social media, so maybe that's where it needs to be directed.
Yeah.
But I actually haven't seen many journalists or any journalists write anything about Kyle. I think, my personal opinion is there isn't a better option. Their problem is not scoring points. I think Kyle's actually doing an okay job. I just felt for her sitting there and for him to say, he was making the point of, well, they're going after a young kid, and well, you called a 23-year-old a weak-gutted dog. So I think it's up to all of us to set a better tone. And I felt like it was low hanging fruit, and I didn't like watching it.
Really good that you brought that up, because Rooster 9 said, Jimmy, how do you think Jamin Salmon's mother and sister felt when he was
Exactly.
called a weak gutted dog? It's a really good point.
And why have you chosen that young woman sitting in that press conference to direct this anger at? Why aren't you directing it? If you think there are journalists out there that are not commenting properly on Kyle, why have you not directed it at them?
I've talked a lot about Kyle Flanagan on this program. 1300 01 1170 if anyone would like to get in contact with us. Hey, I know you've got to go, J.A. Thank you. Enjoy the game on Wednesday night. We'll watch all the stories leading up on Channel 7.
That's all good. See ya.
Thanks for watching. For more great content, subscribe to SEN League, your home of the greatest game of all.